Hey there, Greater Heartland. Welcome to EZ'er eSignatures, going beyond the basics in Docusign. And I'm joined, my name's Clark Kendall. I serve as your regional technology trainer. I'm here with the amazing Jody. Jody,
Hey.
welcome. Introduce yourself. Where are you from?
So I'm out of Joplin, Missouri. I'm the MCT here for roughly about 3 years now. So
Awesome.
yeah.
And doing a fabulous job. And here's why I'm really excited, y'all that are tuning in today. As Jody and I were prepping for this, she dropped some Docusign knowledge bombs on me. I'm like, I'm glad you're here because we get to do even more advanced stuff. She is the pro. So here's our approach for today. We've trained on Docusign basics on this channel, whether you're on Facebook Live or YouTube Live several times. So in the comment section to the right, if you're looking for basics, like first time doing a transaction in Docusign, we've got a link directly to that past recording, right? And also wherever you're watching, you can find it in that platform as well. So in the comment section will be the link to that training. So we are talking more advanced portions of Docusign today. And so we're going to walk through 5 kind of eye-opening features within Docusign that a lot of folks might not be aware of to make life even easier for you to walk through these transactions in Docusign. So we'll actually walk through 5. And we'll probably wrap up around 30 minutes today. But after those 5, we'll also share a few other little tidbits that you might not be aware of. And we won't walk through those just today. And yet we're going to give you articles step by step, really easy to follow. And if you're interested in those, right? So this is pretty advanced stuff. So all I say, as we're walking through here, another piece to mention, some of the things we'll be sharing today are from answers.kb.com. It's your #1 resource. Also, you have amazing tech trainer and leadership staff in your market center that you can bring questions to. Jody, as we trained on this, there's a challenge in teaching Docusign to an entire region, right? So any recommendations if they have taking something here and want to apply it to their market center?
I know that for us, I basically was like Docusign heavy when we first started. So train, but it seemed to go a lot better when you have smaller groups, or if you could do like individual training was always like better for each agent in our office. So
yeah, that's good. Yep. And you're the expert for your market center, right? Because you have certain forms, certain compliance checklists that are different. So we're generally speaking about, and the cool thing is about today, we're not really talking processes. We're talking additional features. Yet if there are specific questions that are forms related, your forms library related, what documents you have access to, direct those to your market center tech trainer. So, all right, we're going to get rolling. Our first fun feature today that you might not be aware of is setting up folders, right? Now, so this is really basics. We're going to start really maybe lightly on our 201 and kind of walk through what it looks like to set up folders. So while I'm sharing my screen, Jody, why would it be important to set up folders within Docusign?
Because let's be honest, you're going to have lots and lots of paperwork for your transactions, and it's going to get a little bit messy as you're going along throughout that transaction.
That's right. Yep. That you have different periods of time you're bringing in forms, you're getting them signed, and we need to keep that organized, right? So it's not so much of a mess. Especially we can easily bring them back in the command. It'll save us time and time. So I'm going to look I'm in Docusign here in my rooms portion here, and also let me search for our Docusign room. So a while back, we had this room that we had created and worked on and kind of discovered Docusign together. So here's our room. And so just so you all know, Jody and I are both agent owners in this room. So we both have the same access. And so we'll be using this room for our training purposes today. Right. So the first piece here of actually creating folders, if we're in the documents tab here at the top, right, where we start to bring in documents, it's up to you when you want to create these folders. It might be that you have your set folders for that type of transaction, whether working with buyers or listings, and you just do that immediately before you bring documents in, right? There's not a right or wrong way to do this, but there are some best practices. Some folks, if this is a listing, they'll have the agency agreement folder that they create right off the bat, or the actual first offers that come in. All right. Just know that there's not a certain right way. And Jody, I'll let you mention any recommendations. Yet the first set up your folders here, we're going to focus on the actions button. Okay. So if you want to add a folder, you want to add the actions button and then hit add folder. All right. So we'll call this agency agreements, because this is, I don't know if this is maybe a listing envelope or room. I'm not really sure. I can't remember how long ago we created it.
Random.
It might be a random one. That's fine. So I just created agency agreements folder. Now know that this room docs folder, every single room will be created with this room docs folder, and you can kind of see that as that inbox. Okay, we kind of touched on this on basics, right? This is still your inbox. We'll show you a fun feature to get documents in here another way. But if you add documents from your library, they'll be in here, right? Or if you manually upload them, they will start in this room docs. So kind of see this room docs as the inbox, and these other folders a way to organize them. Mm-hmm. Jody, any other recommendations or other ways to approach these folders, maybe instead of agency agreements or offers?
Agency agreements, offers. If you wanted to sort out by listed folder, you could do that as well. That's very handy because you'll get your listing documents, and then you'll have your under contract documents, and they'll all be meshed together if you're not separating them. Other things is like if a contract falls through, you can easily create a new under contract folder for your new contracts as they go under contract. So,
right. Yeah, for sure. Yep. And some folks have even decided just to make, just the one folder that says signed. Because if you bring in all your forms in here, right? If I were to add just some forms here real quick, right? I'll just add, let's go with this one, right? Which is going to add a lot of docs here now. But if I'm adding all these, right? These are all the templates that I can reuse if I choose. And if I want my signed ones here, I can just have the green check marks, right? I can have them all up here, and not really necessarily if they're worry about if they're agency agreements. You can go very basic that way too. So, okay. So that's setting up folders. And again, that's advanced / basic there. And yet the next piece that we're going to talk about is, okay, if I have my forms in here, well, how we're going to show you a way that if there's something that is very consistent across a certain type of transaction that you want to be on a form, there's a way to make that faster. So we're calling this form template overlays. And so a use case could be if there's a certain way that you fill out a buyer agency agreement or a listing agency agreement, whether it's commission or a certain terms that you have, there's certain clauses that you use in certain documents that you want to be able to easily access. You can use those as form template overlays, right? So first thing we have to do is set these up. Now, this is set up on every single individual Docusign account, right? So this wouldn't be created by the Market Center and then something they share out with you. You get to control this how you want. So walking through this process, the focus on My Docs up here, this is where we go to set up these form template overlays. So I click on My Docs, then we see here form templates. What we do from here is we create a form template. So from this, know that we have to find an actual Docusign form. Quick definition there, a Docusign form is something that is in a form library, something that your Market Center has submitted to Docusign, and these are your Market Center documents or some board documents, MLS documents, state documents. It's a library. So you have to find the form that you want to use. So in this example, let me use just the library, and I will go with let's go with the Missouri Association of Realtors. And actually, you know what? That'll be fine. Let's use the search here for me. Must be a lot of them. But there's a lot there. Let me go with a different library. One I'm more familiar with, SLAR, which is the St. Louis Association of Realtors. So if there's a certain way that I filled out buyer agency, exclusive buyer agency, right? So I'm choosing the form that I want to use that I want this overlay to be applied to in time. Here's what you need to know about these form template overlays. The only place where you can add information or you would have this overlay would be in the forms or the fields that are provided on a form, right? So in this case, I would not want to fill out a form template overlay and put it in something here for buyer 1 or buyer 2. That's going to change throughout every single transaction, right? Same for the property address in this form. That's where that would go. However, there's a certain commission that I want to easily apply, then I could put this here, right? If I ended up having 3% as my minimum to work with a buyer, I could put that on there. Or at least, again, if I know some of us may not be familiar with the St. Louis forms, but just as an example, if I had a set commission, I could put that in there. Or an additional compensation, maybe it's my transaction fee of $4.95 or whatever it is, I could put that in there. All right. Think through other forms that you would have. I see promise here, maybe something, it probably doesn't save a lot of time to put in a commission percentage in there, but where I do see this helpful is for sales contracts, right? If there's a certain clause that our broker or, our real estate attorney has suggested we use, right? I can create a form template overlay and just create a template just for that.
And you can create multiple of the same form too. So like, let's say for a sale contract, you have the buyer side and you have listing sides. If you do listings and buyers, you can make a template for both of those and easily overlay them on whatever you need to.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. So yeah, that's a great point. Because if I have a sales contract and I could name a form template, so let me go ahead and save this, right? I just made those changes that on this contract, this buyer agency agreement, 3% and a $4.95 transaction fee. Right. So let's go back and see how we can apply this. So I'll go to my forms. Oh, excuse me. Back to my rooms. Back to my rooms. Oh, not my rooms. I'm sorry. I hit the wrong button there. Let me go back to the room I'm looking for. There we go. My documents. So a couple of ways that I can now apply this form. If I find my buyer agency agreement, which I think I actually added the listing documents in there, which is fine. This will be a good practice anyway. So I'm going to add my buyer agency agreement because there's a couple ways you can actually apply these forms, right? So if I find my buyer agency agreement, I'll go just to slower directly. Buyer exclusive agency contract. If there's a form template that you've created, you'll see this little drop down here. All right. So if you're bringing your forms in for the first time, you've already created these form template overlays. You can apply them. Now it looks like I've done this a couple of times. I'm going to assume that this is the second one here. And if I add selected, when I go to add that form that I now get to find, I've added a lot here in short fast.
This is the mess we were talking about.
I know. All right, there it is. All right. So what I should be seeing if I chose the right template, because I've trained on this a few times, right? There it is. All right. So now for this room, for this transaction, it applied that 3% and $4.95 transaction fee. Again, that's probably not a huge time saver, but I think it is helpful for those clauses or, again, if there's certain exclusions or inclusions on a sales contract that you use for, attached things to the home. So, but that's form template overlays. And yeah, Jody, that's a great point. Just because I've created one form template overlay for my buyer agency agreement, or whatever form is out there, I can have multiple options there. So one point there that you probably would want to be more purposeful in than I was, that I just walked through when I go to my form templates, is to name them so you understand them, right? Because I have two here for contract template 1 and 2. I didn't really effectively rename this. So you can always go back and edit these and you want to rename it. So this one would be maybe for quick reference when I go to add that, 3% and $4.95, right? That way, when I have that drop down, I can easily identify which one that is.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Another place that you can apply templates, right? Because we just added that buyer agency agreement. If you've already added forms, oh my gosh, let me get back here. And start opening a new tab to save us some time. All right. So that's one way you can bring them in there. Or if I go to my document section in the room, if there happens to be a template, I can right click on a document that's already in there, right? I don't know if there's one for Keller Mortgage. Oh, I do. Got one for Keller Mortgage. All right. So that's how you would do it. So a couple ways. One, bring it in for the first time, or if that document or that form's already in the documents, you can apply it there. Any other things to add for form template overlays?
This also works with the details that you put in your Docusign transaction room and command details. So if you're applying a template, it's also going to autofill with that information that's already in your details too. So less stuff to fill out.
Yeah, absolutely. Love that.
So the more details you're filling out, autofill on your forms. And if you're applying a form template, it's going to fill in with those things that you did on your form template. So
absolutely. Yeah. So I think a common question we get, again, just to revisit, if you're on a team or if there's a certain, part of a productivity coaching program, each agent will go in here and apply these forms themselves. So there's not a way to create a form template or have these 6 different template overlays and share them with others. We do need those in each account presently. So, all right, let's move on.
Yeah.
So here's a shocker that Jody got to share recently. And this is emailing docs directly into rooms.
Yes. So this is probably one of my Market Center's favorite things, is that you can actually email your documents to Docusign, but you can even go further than that and email them to a specific room within your Docusign account. So let's let this refresh. It's being a little slow apparently. So the first thing that you want to start is over here under your little icon. It might say your initials there. It might have a picture of you there, whatever you have that set up to. You're going to go to Preferences. And then you're going to click on Inbox Details here. And then you're going to see that you have a designated email address for you for your Docusign account. So mine's jody.cantrell@mail.docusign.net. You can't change that ending part here, but you can change this first part of your email address. So I just put my name in there. And once you change that, just hit Save Changes. So what I always recommend is that when you are in your email, whether you're using Gmail or Outlook or whatever, create that email account as a person in your contacts. So when you're sending them documents to your transaction room, you can easily just pull up that person. So I have mine saved as Docusign Inbox.
I like that. Yeah.
So I could easily attach a PDF and email it to my Docusign inbox. And what that does is it would actually show up here in my inbox as a new email attachment where I could easily move it to whatever transaction room that I have. And I think I actually have a couple documents in here. So, apparently not. Apparently I already
just so tidy. You just get them where they need to go.
I already moved them. I already took care of them. But I like to save a little bit more time. So if I know that I need a document in a specific transaction room, in this case, it's our Docusign Rocks room. All I have to do is to get it into this specific room is I'm going to copy this room ID number, and you want to make sure that you are putting the hashtag or pound sign or number sign, whatever your generation is, as the subject line of your email. So I'm going to paste that in there, and now I am going to attach a document. Possibly.
Yeah, I've always toyed with the idea of my Docusign email, right? The one that you showed up, of just doing something fun, like
right?
Yeah, Documus Prime at email or something. I don't know.
All right. So let's see. I'm going to pull in a random document here. I have one downloaded. So let's say I have this agreement for possession that I need to get into my Docusign transaction room. All I'm going to do is attach it and hit send. And depending on how large that file is or how many documents that you are sending to your transaction room, there will be a little bit of time delay on that. So I've already emailed this once to there, so that's why there's a version of it in there for me now. But as soon as that gets sent, it'll add that second document into my transaction room automatically for me. So,
yeah. So actually, we discovered something together because you and I are both room owners in this room, right? So we have the same access. We can add forms. We can manage them together. One question we had while we were prepping for this was, well, I created the room originally, right? Like I logged in my account and then I had to choose the agent owner. One thing we discovered, it doesn't matter which email you use, right? Or who created the room, as long as you're an agent owner and you use your email and that room number, it will get into the room, right? So it doesn't have to be the room owner's email. That was a question that we kind of were working through. So as long as you're an agent owner, a room owner in that room, you'll be good to go using your email and that room number.
Yep. And as you can see, my document is now in my transaction room where I can do whatever I need to do with that document. So
cool. Well, this would be a great segue. So let's do something cool with this document that you just brought in. And we call this feature combining and splitting documents. And so would you want to split this one or would you want to combine? Actually, is that a similar document? Those are two similar, right?
Those are two similar
Yeah,
documents,
okay.
but let's just say that they're two different documents and I wanted to combine them because
Mhm.
maybe I had an instance where my client took a picture of the last page of the seller's disclosure and sent it to me, right? So I need to combine it with the rest of my seller's disclosure. All I have to do is choose the documents that I am wanting to combine. And you're going to notice that this toolbar up here appears for me. And if I click on this little tool that says combine, it's now going to let me do one single document. And I'll hit save. And what it does is it combines those two documents together, but it also keeps your original separate copies as well. So you see
Mhm.
I have my agreement for possession buyer that has both of those documents together. And then I have the ones that are separate as well.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, ideally there may be, again, not that you would have to archive those, but if you've combined those and that's when you're working from, you can combine those or archive those two to at least get them out of the view that you'd want. Yeah.
And
Um,
I like how you said archive, never delete.
right. Yes. Never delete. That's for sure. Yeah. Okay. So that's combining, which probably, I mean, we might use here and there. And I think probably more folks are interested in split. So it's a similar process.
Yes, so if I wanted to split this document again, let's just go with the same one that we were doing. Instead of doing combine, I can actually, let's see here. Never know where it's at on this toolbar.
I think,
Let me
yeah,
just,
I think it is with, you might be able to right click on it as well.
yeah, so I can right click or I can open it itself if I wanted to take a look at it, make sure it's the
Mhm.
same thing. But now I have this option to split the document. And I really, really love this feature in Docusign because I can do Doc 1, easily add Doc 2. And
Mhm.
it actually, instead of typing in the numbers, because if you have a very large document, I can actually just highlight the pages that I want each document to be.
Yeah.
And it'll automatically put it in there. And now I have the original copy that I started with and my split documents.
Love that. So when we're thinking through like real world application here, right? If you're scanning, say you get some wet signatures, you receive a big PDF from a co-op agent,
Mhm.
right? One, the nice thing is you could possibly, I know some MLSs allow you to have conditions for writing offers or certain procedures for writing offers. If you have your listing room created first and you put in, hey, email all offers to this number,
Mhm.
or excuse me, email to this email address and put in the subject this number, you could have those offers come in. It's probably going to be in one PDF, which would
Right.
come in room docs as one document. We could split them and create our nice little folder that's offer 1 or 2 or 3, whichever one that is. So, really can make this fast, right? And connecting all the dots here so far, what we kind of presented to you, all that could be that flow. Really, really well done.
Yes. And it's handy for like closing docs. Like our office makes our agents separate closing docs and settlement statements into two different things, but typically a title company sends them all as one. So, just going in there and being able to split those things up is pretty handy. I think I lost you, Clark.
Oh my gosh. Sorry about that. I was just singing your praises because, as I mentioned, like been prepping for this, Jody dropped some knowledge bombs, and this is the one, the co-op agent feature. This is where I was like, this is amazing. I didn't realize you could do that. So share this awesomeness that
Okay,
you have done.
so this is one that I get really excited about because I always hear of, oh, this agent's not getting me this signed document back. Well, there's kind of a nice little go around for this if you want to use it. So let me actually add a Docusign form in here that I can send. Let's see here. I'm just going to grab a random one that I actually have access to. So let's say I have this addendum and I'm going to send it off for signatures. So I'm going to create an envelope. And this is Docusign 1.0, but always remember that if you are using Docusign forms, you want to use pre-tagged roles.
Yep. Yep.
So let's just say I am on the seller side. So I have seller 1, and then I can go in there and put my seller in there. Clark, you're going to be my seller for this example.
Okay, that's fine.
All right, so I also have this other option. So I'm going to do email address. And I'm going to put myself in here as the other agent, for example. So where it says needs to sign, I have this option to specify recipient. And what that does is it now adds an additional signature in there. And let's say I don't know the other person's name, so I'm not going to mess with that, but I am going to put buyer 1 in here. And what that does is it sends this specific document after I can go in here and change the orders too, by the way.
Cool.
That. What it does is after my seller has gone in and signed it, it's going to email to that co-op agent, and that co-op agent can actually specify who is buyer 1. So they'll say buyer 1 is this person's name and this is their email, and they'll drop in a signature box for them, and then it'll go directly to that buyer. And when that buyer signs, it's going to come all the way back to me as the agent. So I don't have to worry about that other agent returning that signed document to me.
Yeah. Instantaneous.
It's magical.
Yes, it is. Well, and we've kind of touched on that in DocuSign basics. I mean, this order of operations, I mean, it's helpful that if I did submit a offer to my clients, right, and they fully signed it, then I can automatically have that sent to the listing agent. This is taking a layer deeper, bringing in a co-op agent, making things faster for both of us. Right. Yep. So I love that. That's great.
Now, there's always the case that my agent still might not send it to their people for whatever reason. Maybe they download it and send it in whatever program that they use. That's not that too big of a deal, because if your seller 1 is already signed, all you have to do is go back and correct that envelope and remove those other two people to get it as a signed document. So
love that. Love that. That's fabulous. So we have 3 other features we're going to briefly share. And yet I'm going to take a pause, right? These are things that we've discovered of knowing the functionality in DocuSign. And as you're watching this, if you found ways, advanced ways that you're operating your business, your transactions in DocuSign, we'd love to have you put that in the comments and also share that with your Market Center tech trainer. This is the great part about our community at Keller Williams. We learn together, we get faster and better and grow bigger businesses together. So would love to hear that and receive that. Heck, maybe even have you on a guest.
Absolutely. I'm always looking for tips and tricks to get rest of the people on DocuSign. So.
Absolutely. Cool. All right. So here's the other features that we have. And again, we're not going to share the screen to walk through those. Just as we posted that first article that link to our basic training. Okay. On the comments section, you're going to see articles for these 3 other features. So one that is a very powerful tool and can be have a lot of different use cases is ESignature Templates. This isn't to be confused with those form template overlays. This is something to where you would have a form that you would receive maybe through the MLS or a flat PDF, something that does not have signature fields applied to it just yet, right? So, I mean, we go on the MLS, I get my seller's disclosure or other types of disclosure, and I need my buyers to have their email signatures or initials on it. Like I'm thinking here in St. Louis, there's 6 pages, which comprise about 18 different boxes that I have to add, right? Which can be time consuming. So ESignature Templates allows you to take that flat PDF and apply a template for those signature fields. So those signature fields would all show up. You don't have to worry about clicking and dragging every single signature box for a seller's disclosure. Jody, what are any other use cases that you've heard that in your area that agents use it for?
Typically seller's disclosure or maybe like an amendment or something like that. They can easily apply those things. So
yeah. I mean, the sales contract for our sellers here in St. Louis, because we have initials it's a 9-page document. And so we have sellers initials at the end of every page. So we've created an ESignature template for that in our Market Center. Now, here's a nice thing that the Market Center can create this for their agents and share with them. There's a There's a second article on not only creating the articles, but sharing those those templates with your market center agents. And you can also, there's a way that you could even share share your template just with one agent as well. It's a little bit more cumbersome process, but you can do that as well. So that article's in the comments. That's kind of what that is. The other thing that you might want to be aware of is in-person signing, right? I know a lot of us might be meeting in person and are oftentimes maybe printing out documents, get a wet signature on there because we want to seal the deal, right? We get them to understand that we're their agents and we want to be able to serve them right off the bat. And so instead of putting wet signatures on paper, which is definitely viable, well, you can do in-person signing with Docusign. It's really easy. It's not much of an extra step than actually creating your reviews and sending them off for signatures. So there's an article now in the comments section that will walk you through creating in-person signing, which is really, really handy. The last part here.
And
again,
you save trees when you do that.
What's that?
I said, and you save trees when you do that.
Yes, yes, you do. Yeah, green friendly for sure. The last part here, allow for parties with longer names. So if you have a party to the transaction, say you have a listing and there's a trust that is representing or is currently the owners of this property, as we know, if you've experienced this in Docusign, when we go into our Docusign room details, there's a character limit, right? We might not be able to put this 40 character long trust name in there. So this article will help you walk through how to allow and have on any document that you need that full party's name. So again, that's probably a rare instance when we work with trust, but it can easily be done in Docusign. So that article in the comments will walk you through that as well. Jody, that's it. We are just a hair over 30 minutes there, but anything else to add or any other pro tips from the pro?
I would say just get in there and mess with it. Add yourself as a contact and just go in there and mess around with the things, and you're going to find things that you can do really, really well. You might even find things that are wrong with forms. Tell your office tech trainer and they can actually submit those changes to get those corrected. So, but just go in there and mess with it. I'm a hands-on learner myself, so that's how I kind of learned how to do all of these things.
Yeah, and even better, right? I mean, if it's some of this in-person signing, don't practice on your clients. Get with another agent or somebody within your team and say, hey, can we please practice this? Because if it's the first time, it is an easy process. Yeah, just like with anything, you probably want to do a little run through once or twice with somebody else. So that's good. All right. Well, high impact 30 minutes. Jody, thank you again so much for your knowledge, expertise, and we'll catch you on the next live stream.